What do we got? We got some business to do. We got minutes from December 11th. We have warrants. We have a water commissioner's warrant in the amount of $7,457.58. Another water usage, same one, same amount. I assume it's different paperwork, same. Accounts payable in the amount of $592,180.19. Payroll warrant in the amount of $790,866.11. And an accounts payable warrant in the amount of $251,338.43. Any action file issues?
I had one thing. I was thinking about the senior tax work-off program, and I know that you have to be 60 years old or older. A one-person household income is $40,000. Two-person is $60,000. You make $10 an hour. The maximum is $1,000 off your taxes. I was wondering, is that fully committed? Do we have enough people applying for it?
I'd have to check with the committee. They received applications, I think, in December.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's, I saw a little thing in the Council on Aging brochure or newsletter, but I don't remember seeing it anyplace else. And when I was at the MMA, a person from Needham was saying that in Needham, you can do the work on behalf of a senior. So someone else can actually put the hours in and say, I would like, you know, Damon to get the $1,000 tax write-off. And I thought that that was a lovely...
If Damon's a senior, right? If I understand what you're saying.
Not Damon.
Yeah, so give it a minute.
Right. So a senior that's in need can be...
Oh, now you...
Such as yourself, you know, can be, someone else can do the work on their behalf. And I thought that was a really clever idea, because lots of times people don't do it because they're embarrassed or, you know, feel weird about it, but really could use the help.
Or incapable.
Or incapable, right, you know, and, you know, you know, you could...
Okay, could you look and see whether that's fully subscribed or not? Okay, great. Thank you. Any other action file issues?
That's it.
Any committee reports?
I've continued to go to the planning board, but I'm really there as a citizen, and they're, you know, just continuing on their process of preparing to bring the marijuana bylaws to town meeting and to vote. And then MRPC, it's been a while because the last meeting I missed, and their next one's this Thursday. So I'll have something to say by next week.
Okay.
I'm going to be at the steering committee meeting of the Central Mass Regional Stormwater Coalition tomorrow morning. Minutes and agendas of these meetings are posted on the Coalition's website for all who are interested in the activities of these groups, whose purpose is to help the member communities, such as Lunenburg, fulfill the requirements of the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit, the MS4, which we now know is an expensive proposition for towns. Their offerings can significantly reduce the cost to towns. So I'm looking forward to that meeting, and it's going to be in Fitchburg, so it's in our neck of the woods for a change, so I'm really happy about that.
All right, moving on to old business, our payment in lieu discussion about this Settle Solar. We have not heard back yet from town council, so we're going to defer that at least until next week. In terms of our Board of Selectmen goals number 2, we need to discuss or begin to discuss warrant articles for Passios, Brooks, and the old primary building. Where are we on that? Do we have a game plan?
I guess direction from the board would be needed to craft articles.
When does the warrant close?
March 21st.
Okay.
So I'd at least like to take the APDC's recommendations or wishes into account for at minimum the Brooks House, and I guess we need a warrant article for permission to do an RFP to sell the building and some little property with it to probably be a single-family home would be the idea. And they did say their preference was that it would, first preference is sell it in place because it's a fixture in the town where it is, so there should be some land to go with it. If we can't get someone to do it that way, then maybe we try to just sell the building, but it seemed like their wish was to sell it and keep it there and get someone to fix it up.
Now, if they said that we needed to do some sort of surveying work to make that work. Can you make your warrant article to allow us to survey and then do an RFP, or do you have to get the survey done before you do the warrant article?
I think doing the survey in advance of town meeting is the better.
Okay, and we can spend this
a whole host of questions. Yeah, people are going to be like, okay, what's the land parcel look like?
And we can authorize this whatever small expense to survey it at least to the.
I can get quotes for that.
Okay.
Another interesting thing
But we'd need probably a next meeting to kind of roughly draw out what the board thinks that should look like.
Yeah, and I mean, so some recommendation from Adam too to make it just, a little.
Yep, as far as minimum.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the frontage is really, and just how far back you want to give them, but.
And we want to probably, I don't know how it impacts the library too, that if they might want to be involved.
Well, that's a second piece of this. I think that what we want to do is, in continuation of our TC Passios discussion, we said we wanted to have workshops like we had with the historical groups. And they don't have to be full workshops.
And revisit the historical commission, because we really missed a key element that night.
Well, they didn't come, but we can connect with them. But we want to have meetings with these three groups, the parks, open space, and conservation as a group. We want to have a meeting with the town employees and PAC, who have some requests for what their needs are as part of TC Passios, and then to get to your point, Ms. Adams, is the butters, if you will, Council on Aging, Boys and Girls Club, Library, on
like
TC Passios and Brooks and that whole thing.
It definitely impacts the library, and we definitely want to make sure they're comfortable with.
But I would like us to aggressively, I mean, if we wait to have one workshop a month, that's going to go on for way too long. I'd like us to kind of put one of these things on each of our next meetings and make them a piece of our meetings.
I agree.
Sure. And the end result would be to kind of come out of it with the work required to do probably 3 warrant articles, one that has to do with the Passios, one that has to do with Brooks, and one that has to do with the primary, relative to next steps.
That's aggressive, but we really need to do it.
Right.
And do we really need one for the primary to do what the APDC asked us to do with it? Because it's already in the select board's control.
No, it lost it. Adam Costa said that there was a vote, special town meeting, November 2016, where an amendment was made to the conveyance of that site, and what had been conveyed was unconveyed in that. And I remember he confirmed that to me at one point.
Well, the APDC is telling us we got to fix it up.
No, I know, but the selectmen don't have conveyance of that property anymore.
But we don't need conveyance if we're going to fix it up. I'm just saying we're not.
No, I think that's what Damon was.
Well, they didn't. They said either fix it up or get somebody to do something with it.
Right.
So same thing with Brooks. If we could again get permission to do an RFP for it. And that one, I'm not. Again, we'd have to have a discussion about the land to go with it, because I wouldn't be so quick to give away anything in front of the building, because that could be a nice. If the Historic Society needs their parking fixed, that'd be nice. Either it could be municipal parking, or it could be park space, or whatever.
Or it could make the Ritter more attractive.
Any of the above. But yeah, I would kind of draw the line similar to. The Preservation District only cares about the front of the building.
Right.
So again, we have to craft an RFP, But their main thing is the front of the building stays looking the same, so nobody needs any space in front of it anyway. All the village bylaws state the parking belongs behind the building or on the side of the building, so anyone doing anything with it anyway should be only concerned with land behind it. So I think
Are we talking about crafting articles to sell these parcels? Or to look for
RFP.
conveyance for a third time in a couple of years?
Again, I'm just trying to stick with
Well, I'm
what
just trying to understand what we're trying to craft.
the APDC asked
That's why we have
us.
to put it on the agenda and discuss it.
Yeah, the APDC asked us to. Well,
That's just
fix it
like
up.
3 or 4 people, and I understand the recommendation, but how we're leaping to selling, again, I'm not following.
Well, they were a commission, and they told us we have to fix it up or sell it.
Yeah, and they can take us to court over it if we don't do one of these.
Right.
one of
And
the
it needs
above.
$2 million worth of repairs in the Vertex trial, so
If we're going to use it.
We have talked about this at great length,
Yes.
and this isn't one we're going to discuss.
I know and conveyance has failed twice, and it sounds like we're getting articles
Well,
ready to see conveyance.
let's not confuse
And-
things. Conveyance didn't fail twice. We
we're-
asked for different things.
And we're not, that isn't the topic
That
for
property
tonight.
was in
No.
old
And that's
primary.
not the topic for tonight.
What is the topic? That's what I'm asking.
To discuss what warrant, to schedule the next couple of meetings to discuss what warrant articles are required. And I believe the topics of warrant articles, regardless of what they look like, and we'll have a meeting to determine that, is the Passios, the Brooks, and the primary.
And what type of warrant articles are
That's why we need a meeting.
That's what we're discussing.
Which is
That's what we're going to discuss at the meeting.
conveyance. Okay. Well, I
well-
didn't bring this up. I'm just,
The recommendation I heard from
this is
the,
on our agenda.
again, I'm going from the APDC's recommendation, that at least from the Brooks, was actually conveyance. The
Right.
Passios, not the primary, again, I know we're gonna have to take several swings in RFP to be attractive to somebody.
Exactly.
And if it's, whatever we have to do to not foot the bill, the $2 million bill, to fix it up should be on the table. I mean, if it's a land lease, that's fine with me. If it's end user sale, that's fine with me. I'm trying to find solutions to not fit the $2 million bill to fix it up like they want us to.
I mean-
which we're required to do. It's not something we can choose not to do.
We know a great amount of people have discussed and worked on and had the concept of utilizing that land for an improved town green. I mean, so to just jump to the conclusion that we're selling it, I think is unfair to the amount of people that have spoken up and looked for alternative uses of the land.
But-
Not to mention that
We
a
have
member
to-
of the APDC said that the Historical Commission, although they couldn't make it to that meeting, is adamantly opposed to selling the land. So to say one group says we should, well, we got to hear from all the other groups. We haven't talked to Parks, so.
But we're required to try to reuse the building. It's not a demo delay in the center of town. They can say no forever. That's what the APDC has the power to do.
And they can also say yes to demolition. So if we,
But we have to make an effort to reuse the building the way it is. That's step one. If we fail at that, then we can pursue your town green or something else. But we have to make the first effort to save the building and reuse it.
where was your passion for that with the diagram of the apartments that you had on that site? I mean.
You know, Miss Adams, you brought up earlier that we keep revisiting the same things over and
Well,
over again.
I mean,
I'd like to make a motion right now that we leave that alone until we deal with the one that we already agreed to as a board.
I don't understand that motion.
I would like to continue our discussion on the 5 buildings according to the plan of record until the plan of record is no longer the plan of record.
The one that he stated over and over again.
What is the plan of record? The plan of record is that a couple people want to sell a parcel of land and a lot of other people don't, because that parcel has had 2 conveyance articles on it. One was November 2016 and one was May 2017, and both times.
Is there a second?
Second.
What is the motion? What is the legal motion that Katie Adams can't talk about municipal
Well, you
land?
can talk about it when we open it for discussion, but the legal motion is that we continue with the plan of record without opening the discussion to alternatives to the plan of record.
What is the plan of record?
You were on the board when we voted for it.
What is it? If we voted for it, identify the plan of record of which we are discussing. Heather, what is the plan of record?
Pursue the costs associated with moving Town Hall to the Passios building.
I think, yeah, the vote of the board.
I'm talking about Old Primary, though, not the Passios. So what is the plan of record for Old Primary?
To find a reuse for the property.
Where is that a plan? Where is there a record of that plan?
In the minutes when we voted on it as a board.
There's no end use. We have to find a reuse for it. And it's a mandate from the APDC that we at least try. We have to try to reuse the building.
It was a recommendation of the APDC, and they were saying that we were neglecting.
No, it was a letter from them stating to us that we were in violation of...
That we were neglecting, yes, the care of that property.
Correct.
But I don't think that they have the power in this town to say that we have to sell. So where is that plan of record? You're taking 3 people's recommendation to fix the building and trying to tell the community we have to sell property.
Well, they can, and made it clear that they're fully willing to tell us we can't tear it down. So what's that mean to you?
The Historical Commission doesn't want to sell it, and we didn't hear from them yet. So we're taking one group's opinion that matches what you two have been working on since 2013 and trying to use it as data point. We haven't even heard from the Historical Commission.
And I said we don't have to sell it. I said we have to take the necessary steps to repurpose the building, to at least try to repurpose the building, and the goal should be for us not to fit the $2 million bill.
Perhaps it could be Town Hall instead of TCP.
Because the plan of record, which I'm about to take a vote on, is to move the municipal offices to TCP. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? Thank you.
And I wasn't there when that was voted, so thank you for
Doesn't
doing
matter.
that. Well, I'm a member now, so I can't contribute.
Right.
It's freedom, America.
Yeah, but you know all about it. You read it several times.
Government moves forward and decisions sometimes change. If it didn't, women wouldn't be voting, et cetera. So we're allowed to project change.
And when the board votes, things change.
Okay, and this was the first time we revoted the topic in about 2 years.
Good.
So now we know it's 3-1.
Glad we did.
Wow.
So we are going to have a couple of meetings to craft these warrants.
Even though we already have them planned.
It might be necessary, at least for 2 of them, the ones with the library, the Council on Aging, and the Senior Center, and the separate one with the town employees and the PAC, to do them during the day. Would that be a major inconvenience to this board?
Major inconvenience. They need to be at standard meetings, in my opinion.
They will be open meetings posted.
No, I'm saying they need to be ones that are available for participation.
For you?
For the board, yes.
No, that's what I'm asking. Under any circumstances, could we schedule them during times when our employees work?
For me, you could.
I could, well...
Is it worth pursuing, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm more concerned about input from the community and having, say, maybe a public hearing.
No, we're not having a public hearing. We're having a meeting with concerned people who work in the daytime.
No, I mean on this topic of changing municipal land and municipal building use.
We will.
I would like to build in a meeting that's a public hearing, and I'm far more concerned overall in
It
hearing
will
from
be
the
a public meeting, open to the public. It may be during the day, because that's when the people that we're meeting with are available.
I mean, not...
And then the meeting minutes will be published, and I'm sure we'll talk about it until we're blue in the face.
You're misunderstanding what I'm asking.
No, I'm not. I understand totally what you said.
No, I'm asking for a public hearing or a public meeting on this topic.
We know
not
that.
A public
we know
meeting
that.
Right.
About employees.
We know that's what you're asking
about
for.
The plan of record.
I think these will lead up to that, these focus group meetings, like meeting with the abutters groups, the Council on Aging, the Boys and Girls Club, and the library, considered kind of focus group, as well as town employees who work in these buildings, and PAC, who has an interest in a new studio, and they're been put on hold because TC Passios is in limbo and what the future of that space will be. So I think,
Sometimes
Let's meet with these
employees-
people and then have a public hearing.
right, that would
At
be
a public
my-
hearing.
Public
We
meeting.
will talk about it in public.
A lot of times, police department, I mean, they come to these meetings as employees about their departments. I'd rather stick to our regular schedule and invite them to attend.
Okay.
But the,
I would be able
besides
to
outside
meet during the
department
day if it was
heads-
more convenient for those groups.
Yeah.
Fine. We'll Elaine, see you check availability, and we'll see if we can get a quorum.
So for our next workshop for February, though, do you want me to reach out to,
Well, why don't we do the one that would probably be at
committees?
night anyway?
okay,
Open space, parks, and conservation, and see
Whether
if they can make the first one. If not, maybe the second, maybe the 19th. all right?
okay.
And would it be okay to re-invite the historical commission?
Well, they don't really, we could put them on the agenda if they want to come, but I don't know that we want to drag APDC and Historical Society back unless they want to come.
Correct, just the
And it's
historical commission.
It's a more focused conversation with the three groups you mentioned. If
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, they have every right to come and give us their opinion. They were invited to the last meeting and they didn't come.
They couldn't make, I guess the chair couldn't come that night. They had their meeting the following night.
But they could always come and make a public comment.
Well, they could come and be part of our agenda. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, just give them a
yeah,
second
I
opportunity.
have no
to
problem with
come.
that.
I don't know
Yeah.
why we'd want to exclude them.
No, we don't.
Okay.
So we'll start with that, and then we'll check our availability and see if we have to, or maybe we could do late in the day and kind of catch both. I don't know. I think that's it. Is there any public comment from the public? Any public comment from the board?
I just had one thing. Senator Tran's office sent an email about budget priorities.
Yep,
Will
it'll
we
be
get-
on next Tuesdays.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
folks I've met and the folks who know me. Will I discover a soul-saving love, or just the dirt above and below me? I'm a doubting Thomas. I took a promise, but I do not feel safe. Oh, me of little faith. Sometimes I pray for a slap in the face, then I beg to be spared, 'cause I'm a coward. If there's a master of death, I bet he's holding his breath, as I show the blind and tell the deaf about his power. I'm a doubting Thomas. I can't keep my promises, 'cause I don't know what's safe. Oh, me of little faith. Can I be used to help others find truth? When I'm scared, I'll find proof that it's a lie. Can I be led down the trail, dropping breadcrumbs to prove I'm not ready to die? Please give me time to decipher the signs. Please forgive me for time that I've wasted. I'm a doubting Thomas. I'll take your promise, though I know nothing's safe. Oh, me of little faith. Oh, me of little faith.
regálame tu corazón, tus ojos negros que son mi perdición, que hipnotizan y me cautivan, por ellos pierdo la razón. Dame solo una señal, una ilusión. Sueño contigo, ya no soy el mismo de ayer. ¿Qué has hecho en mí? Di, nena, cómo ganarme tu querer. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi adoración. En tus curvas de sirena quiero perderme yo. Y no sé vivir sin tu esplendor. Dame, negrita, tu corazón. Oye, mira, ven con tu papi que te quiere. Me enamora ese estilo tuyo al caminar. Tu boca fresa, tu esencia, tu mirar, que me hechizan y me dominan. Contigo no tengo control. Dame solo una señal, una ilusión. Tú mi delirio, tú mi razón, la solución. Dime, negrita del alma, cómo llamar tu atención. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi adoración. En tus curvas de sirena quiero perderme yo. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi adoración. En tus curvas de sirena quiero perderme yo. Eres mi necesidad, eres mi debilidad. Por ti mi alma va a estallar y no lo puedo evitar. Eres mi necesidad, eres mi debilidad. Por ti mi alma va a estallar y no lo puedo evitar. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi adoración. En tus curvas de sirena quiero perderme yo. Ay, 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 mulata, ay, qué ingrata. Mulatica de mi vida, eres tú mi consentida. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Ese cuerpo de sirena, esa negrita está buena. Si cocina como camina, que yo me como hasta la raspita. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi obsesión. Hoy te bajaría la luna si lo pides tú. Oye, te canto una serenata, te canto mi inspiración. Mulata, no seas ingrata, regálame el corazón. Mulata de mi amor, eres mi
her from my past. I was so happy, but joy in this life seldom lasts. Keeper, he helped me warn the ships at sea. We had grown closer till his joy meant everything to me. And he was to marry a girl who shone with beauty and light. And they loved each other, and with me watched the sunsets into nights, and the winds crashing around me, the sand slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. Safe return. But when the night came, the weather to a raging storm had turned. He watched her ship fight, but in vain against the wild and terrible wind. In me so helpless, as dashed against the rock she met her end. Sails slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. Day, my keeper found her washed up on the shore. He kissed her cold face that they'd be together soon, he swore. I saw him crying, watched as he buried her in the sand. And then he climbed my tower, and off the edge of me he ran. Slips out to sea, and the winds that blow remind me of what has been and what can never be. I am a lighthouse, worn by the weather and the wind. And though I'm empty, I still warn the sailors on their way.
the key to you. When I found the key to you. Found the key to you.
Hello and welcome to State Matters. I'm your host, Matt Muratori. If you like fishing, if you have health insurance, this is the show for you today. Joining me is the president of the Fishing Partnership, JJ Bartlett. JJ, thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be here.
So we always start the show as learning who our guests are. So if you could tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. I'm JJ Bartlett. I am the founding president of Fishing Partnership Support Services, and we're a nonprofit that improves the health, safety, and economic security of commercial fishing families.
Okay.
We've been around for about 20 years. I have a wonderful wife, Jessica, who's a researcher. She studies programs and services that help children, and we have a couple children of our own. Molly, who's a junior in college, and Jake's a senior in high school.
Great, great. And where'd you grow up?
I grew up down in Connecticut on the shore, and came up here to go to college at Harvard, and haven't left since.
Okay, and what did you study at Harvard?
I was a biology major, yeah.
And is that your degree?
My degree is in biology, and then I went on to Boston University and I got a master's degree in business with a concentration in healthcare management.
Okay. And what did you do after you came out of BU?
Well, so while I was at BU, I heard about this group of fishermen who were getting together because they were really interested in access to healthcare services. And so halfway through the program, I started working with them on that, and they haven't been able to get rid of me since.
What made you want to get into healthcare or healthcare plans?
Oh, you know, I don't know. It's probably similar to why you get into government. There's a bug I had, and you know, it's just a clear and need that people have. Every family has, and you know, it's great to be able to earn a living and help people.
Yeah. And you live in Acton right now.
I do.
So you don't even live on the shore.
I know. I miss living on the shore.
But you deal with fishermen.
Right. But
why is that?
Well, there's you know, we work with fishermen up and down the coast, and so we had to plant ourselves somewhere in the middle.
Like you said off here, we can't live in Gloucester, and we'll, you know, make the people in New Bedford unhappy.
Exactly.
Or vice versa.
Exactly. We've got to be a neutral party.
So tell us about you know, the Fishing Partnership Support Services. Tell us what you do.
Sure. Well, you know, as I started to say, we improve the health, safety, and economic security of fishing families. And we support fishermen because they really deserve our support. I mean, no one knows that better than the people who live down here in Plymouth where we're filming. You know, I mean, they're heroes who go out to sea and risk their lives to bring us food. They've been stewards of the oceans. I mean, again, here, literally since humans settled the area, they've been feeding us and taking care of the oceans. And in Massachusetts, there are 7,000 fishermen. Down here in the South Shore area, there are about 1,300 fishing families.
Oh, wow.
And what's really cool is that allows Massachusetts to have a seafood industry that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So we're talking about 90,000 jobs that depend on our fishermen to pull the fish from...
In the Commonwealth?
In the Commonwealth.
Wow. Wow. Now, you started this in 1997.
Yes.
and what made you start it? What was, why? Were there a lot of uninsured fishermen at the time? Or?
Well, another reason we support the fishermen is sadly they need our support. You can imagine it's a very difficult job on your body. You get banged up. In addition, they are the fishermen are dependent on forces that are outside of their control in order to earn a living. So, for example, the price of fuel, the catch, whether or not their engine might blow one day, and that's incredibly stressful. And so fishermen are actually you could see it in their healthcare outcomes. They're actually sicker. They're more likely to smoke. They are more likely to die on the job. They're more likely to be uninsured. 5 times more likely to die of an opioid overdose than any other worker in the country. Wow. And so what we do...
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's due to a number of factors. It's incredibly difficult work. They are going out in very harsh conditions. And thankfully here in Massachusetts, we have fishing industry leaders who are actually not just state leaders, but they're national leaders. People like Ed Barrett, John Havland, Todd Jesse and the Jesse family have been community leaders for generations. And
all from this area.
Exactly, yeah. And back in the mid-90s, a group of fishing leaders were getting together, and they wanted to address one of the main issues. They're all these rugged individuals, but that means that they don't have the support of a corporation taking care of them. They don't have a human resources department taking care of them. So they knew they wanted to start an independent organization, which became Fishing Partnership, that could fill that role. And so back then, the most clear and present need was for access to healthcare coverage. This was about 10 years before the statewide reform.
I was going to ask you about that, how that affected, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was interested in healthcare and getting folks access at the time. And having grown up on the shore, I knew, okay, if you can cover fishermen, you can cover anyone. This is an incredible model. And having the idea come from the community itself was really, really impressive. So we started a health plan that was a demonstration project for what came later. And we did a lot of the same things. We grouped the fishermen together to get a market competitive rate and provided sliding scale premium structure. So if they had a good year, they'd pay more, but if they had a tough year, they'd get more subsidy. And we ran a health plan for 15 years, and we reduced the rate of uninsured fishermen by 75%. Then state reform came along, and we knew we could
That was the mid-2000s, right? That came along?
Exactly.
The Romney Care.
Exactly.
So how did that affect this?
Well, so what was great is we no longer had to be an insurance company ourselves. So we could broaden our mission and sort of become a human resources agency for fishing families, and that allowed us to do so much more.
And then more recently, the federal government, the Obamacare, how did that affect this, or did it affect it at all?
Yeah. So what happened? I guess. It's a good time to take a step back and talk about our model, because just as important as what we do is how we do it. Everything that we do is through the community. As I started to say, the idea was born out of the community, and we're here because we have an office right on 139 Court Street in Plymouth. And
oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we have offices in Gloucester. This is the down in New Bedford. This is the 18th year in a row that New Bedford is the largest port in the country, and down in Chatham as well. And all of those...
Chatham as well? That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And all of those offices are staffed by members of the fishing community. We call them navigators. So, in every community, really in every family, there's someone that we all go to when we're sick or when we need help. They're the people who, when someone's ill, they make sure that they get a ride to the doctor, or that people are bringing them, delivering food to them. I know that you're one of these type of people. Your staff, are these type of people. Well, some of them don't have jobs, and some of them are in the fishing industry. And if you find them and train them to do the work that they're pretty much already doing anyway, it turns out to be a really powerful community health model. So we have these navigators here in Plymouth. It's Lori Karen. And
so she runs the office in Plymouth?
Exactly.
Okay.
She runs the Plymouth.
Is it like a Monday through Friday?
Yep.
Okay.
And but she can be reached anytime too.
Yep.
All of her information is on our website. We can give that number later.
Sure. Yeah.
But since when healthcare reform came in, we still, while we don't have to be an insurance company ourselves, our navigators are still trained by the federal and state governments to help people sign up for coverage.
So it's just people in the fishing industry that would come to the office to sign up, or whatever questions they may have, et cetera.
Yeah, so we exist to help the people in the fishing industry.
Yep, okay.
But I'd love to tell you more about that. But just before I go any further, too, we consider coastal communities fishing communities.
Okay.
So if anyone needs help, we'll help them with any of our services. So if anyone listening or watching needs help with healthcare coverage, they should absolutely feel free to stop by any of our offices, and we'll help them with coverage.
So they don't have to be in the fishing industry. But what sort of help would you give them?
Yeah, we help people sign up for. We help fishermen sign up for coverage. We help them choose what plan might be available to them. It's interesting. Here's another way that you asked why at the beginning. Why is it more difficult for fishermen? Here's another way where it can be more difficult to be a fisherman. Their incomes fluctuate dramatically from year to year, and even within the same year.
And in seasons too.
Exactly. So I don't know if you heard, there's an interesting story recently about one sushi grade bluefin tuna just sold for $3 million.
I did hear about that.
Now,
yeah.
And I would have liked.
Why was that so expensive? I couldn't figure that out.
Well, it was big and really high quality, I guess. But that's clearly unusual. But it's not unusual for tuna to sell for tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, the reason I bring this up is you can imagine there can be fishermen who can leave the shore on Mass Health, catch a fish, return to shore, and they're not eligible for Mass Health anymore. So we help them, and you don't get into fishing because you love filling out forms,
Yeah.
So we help them figure out what coverage is best for them. We help them sign up for that coverage, find a doctor that's near them, maybe a doctor who speaks their language. We've been working with the connector this year to make sure that everyone knows the penalties that might be levied on them if they don't have coverage. And then also, helping people sign up for the other programs through the connector, like dental coverage. And then there's Mass Health and Medicare and unemployment. And, we'll help people sign up for their spouse's coverage if they have questions. Just basically anything to keep people insured.
I was going to ask you why are they called navigators, but I think I understand that now. They're really helping these folks navigate through the real maze of health insurance.
Yes.
Whether it's private or whether it's government funded. And that's probably one of the top questions that we get asked a lot of times in our office is about health insurance, particularly Mass Health and how it works and the connector and all that. So absolutely, and we'd always welcome the opportunity to be a resource for you. Yeah, I want to just digress for 1 second because this is kind of impressive. You were actually named 40 under 40 in 2008 by the Boston Business Journal. Tell me about that. And congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, sadly, you're dating me.
That was over 10 years ago, but still, it's impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. It's really, I think, a tribute to I'm because of the interesting work that we do, and I basically accept the award on behalf of the people we work with. We started with signing people up for healthcare coverage, but our model is to listen to the navigators about the needs that are in the community. They know what fishing families need because they're from fishing families themselves, and they know how to meet the needs because we train them to be community health workers. And so they're able to tell us that, there are a lot of vessels that are going down, and the families are, that impacts the families, obviously not just at the time, but for generations when they lose people at sea. And so we've been able to, for example, build a relationship with Riverside Trauma, so we can bring a trauma team in to support the families. We can bring fishermen access to dental cleanings, immunizations like flu shots and tetanus shots, all things that independent workers like fishermen don't have access to because, like I said, they just don't have human resources departments like other groups.
Are you seeing a lot more issues with behavioral health, mental health services as well, more so than maybe before when you started?
Yes, so there's an example. So I mentioned at the outset that fishing families are fishermen are 5 times more likely to die of an opioid overdose. And it's a perfect opportunity to talk about that a little bit. And you can imagine, we already said that fishermen go out, they do incredibly difficult work in a harsh environment. So they get banged up, and we know from our healthcare days that the rates of back pain, neck pain, arthritis are all off the charts. You would expect that. Well, like I said, independent workers, they don't have access to vacation days or sick days. So if they don't work, they don't get paid. And if they don't show up for work, they might never get asked to go out on that vessel again. So there's tremendous job insecurity. So of course, they're working through pain. Of course, they're working through injury. And of course, doctors are prescribing painkillers so that they can do that. Well, now we know that 4/5 of all new heroin users started with prescription drugs. And so that's how you end up having one of the highest death rates in the state. Well, what's great is having people on the ground in the community to recognize this allowed us to address it early. So we've been doing Narcan trainings. Last year alone, just here in Plymouth, we've done over 50 CPR first aid and Narcan trainings so that the fishermen have that life-saving medicine available on their vessel when they go out to sea. Not only for the fishermen, but also they're often the first responders for recreational fishermen and other boaters, because ambulances don't really go where fishermen fish. And we're able to also run lots of other opioid awareness programs. We have, and we're starting support groups that are run by fishermen, for fishermen. So it's, like I said, the key is just having the people who are navigators who are right there on the ground in the communities.
How many folks in your organization?
We have about 20 people in the organization right now.
And you talked about the training that the navigators go through. Well, what's some of the training that they go through? So they're trained as community health workers. So they learn how to they learn all aspects of care. They're also trained by the state to be healthcare navigators. So they have aggressive. So there's a state program that actually does the training?
Exactly. So there's a state program that trains them in the intricacies of health insurance and how to sign people up for health insurance. We provide them additional training in things like psychological first aid, so that after a tragedy they're able to support them, and it's really, the model's working really well. In 2016 we were named the Community Health Worker Program of the Year.
Oh, congratulations, that's great. And where does your funding come from?
We get funding from the state is the primary source. Is it out
of Mass Health, or is it?
Out of yes, it's through Mass Health, and we're able to use the funding not only to sign up people for health insurance, but also to run programs like our safety training programs. We actually have one coming up here. We have a couple programs coming up. In February 15th, we have a program running out of our Plymouth office for CPR and first aid. And like I said, of course, we'd love fishermen to come, and anyone's welcome. And then we have a safety training program on March 21st and 22nd in the South Shore.
Oh, great. I also, as part of the research, we found that you actually were, after you got that under 40 award, you were invited to talk to the White House Office of Health Reform to testify on rural health issues. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, yes. You know, as I was saying, independent workers have it, they're in a unique class of their own. And so fishermen certainly fit in this category. And some of the things I mentioned make it really difficult for them to sign up for health care coverage and to stay covered. Well, there are other groups like loggers, ranchers, farmers, who have a lot of these similar issues. In addition, the model of having people from the community, and, you know, instead of having some health policy nerd like me go out and tell them what they need to do, having this model where everything starts with them saying, this is what we need, can you help us? It turns out to be a really effective model, as I mentioned, and that's something that can, particularly for these independent workers and workers that are hard to reach and in rural areas.
There was one more award that I thought stood out too, and it was in 2017. You got a leadership award from police. What's the connection there? Fishermen, police.
Well, the connection is through our opioid work. Okay. So we have some of our navigators are trained as certified recovery coaches, and so. After an opioid overdose, there are many police departments that will go out into the households and not try to put anyone in a legal jeopardy, but just to talk to the families and see if they have the resources they need. So our navigators have joined those ride-alongs, and so they'll go with the police to the families, particularly when there's a fisherman involved.